So this will probably be the last video with regards to McKinnon. And again, just kind of like really trying to get a feel for the way that she describes the dangers of pornography and the harm that pornography causes in society, causes, again, to both females and males, right? And she has yet to define pornography, but she does so on page 274. Okay? And she's writing with a collaborator here, and so she says that we define pornography as the graphic, sexually explicit subordination of women through pictures or words that also include women dehumanized as sexual objects, things, or commodities, enjoying pain or humiliation, being tied up, cut up, mutilated, bruised, physically hurt, or in postures of sexual submission or servility or display. Okay? And again, notice here, right, that this is and there's a little bit more there, but I'm going to let you read that on your own on how she defines it. And notice that that's very different than the way that Altman defined pornography. Altman defines pornography as sexually explicit material in words or images that is intended by the creators to sexually arouse the willing viewers of those materials. Right? That's Altman's definition. Where McKinnon again is having a very pointed kind of definition of pornography here. But again, it advances the argument that her and other kind of scholars that take on this perspective, right, are very serious about, and I think that's it should be taken very seriously, right? Pornography perpetuating hierarchy, right? Perpetuating and making hierarchy sexy. And so, kind of by that observation and taking that into the definition here, we can see that kind of connection. At the bottom of 274, she makes a couple of other comments here. She says, pornography is the practice of a discrimination on the basis of sex, on one level because of its role in creating and maintaining sex as a basis of discrimination. It harms many women one at a time and helps keep all women as an inferior status by defining our subordination as our own sexuality and equating that with our gender. It is also sex discrimination because its victims, including men, are selected for victimization on the basis of their gender. Okay? So again, what she's claiming here is that in this kind of capacity, that pornography, again, continually promotes this line of thinking, this view, both kind of like literally what people watch on the screen, what people read in a magazine or look at in a magazine, the viewership of one over the other, right? It promotes this, again, kind of inferiority-superiority relationship, which goes back to the heart of our discussion last week on patriarchy. Okay? And let's see here. And then on page 277 here, right? And again, she's made various overtures of this kind of sort as well. But the idea that we learn that pornography, blah, 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 men inflict on women that sex has they experience through pornography in a way that gives women no choice about seeing the pornography or doing the sex. And also, I mean, thinking about this here, right, that pornography also hurts men's capacity to relate to women. Substantively, pornography defines the meaning of what a woman is by connecting access to her sexuality with masculinity through orgasm. Okay? So this idea of like thinking that when we kind of engage with pornographic materials, or when we, again, kind of know what we know about pornography, right, we have to take very seriously the harms from this perspective of what pornography does in culture, what it does in society, what it does on an own personal basis, right? And the fact here that pornography is very serious. It should be taken very seriously as a subject because of all the harms that it contributes to and the perpetuation of inequality. Okay? And the perpetuation of inequality as it relates to, again, sexual dominance and sexual servility of one over the other. Okay? And so I know that this week has maybe been a bit intense. I know that you probably didn't really expect to dive into these topics in particular. But I hope that as you kind of like wrap these up and kind of like think about these topics, or at least this topic of pornography, you're left with two very different perspectives with Altman and the McKinnon, and that you're able to again kind of like work with both of those perspectives and see, which one you agree with, which one you disagree with. Maybe you agree with both, maybe you disagree with both, right? Well, why? And kind of considering that as a takeaway here. And also considering that there's multiple ways of considering and thinking about the topic of pornography. And I hope to kind of like engage in the way that you have this week, that you feel kind of at least more, or at least better versed in being able to maybe talk about something that doesn't get talked about. Because again, it influences, I would argue, so much of our lives, whether we know it or not. And now we kind of have, again, a little bit of a better familiarity with a topic, and we can bring a couple of differing perspectives to the table. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cheers.